Okay, so here we are. Right. Straight, no worries here. But we approach the T1 of Nurburgring, which is one of the slowest turns in the whole championship, and of course the slowest turn here in this circuit. Now, when you approach here, as you can see, there's a little bit of an issue because T1 and instantly problems. What's the problem here? The problem is that the actual braking zone is not straight. All right. So you have to position your car somewhere in the middle of the road, like that. Okay. And by looking away, far away, actually, let me also enable the mouse because otherwise we won't be able to see anything. That's all. Yes, now it works. Okay. So minimize this. Now, as you can see, the braking for the T1 is not really a straight line as you arrive. So what you need to do, well, first of all, our reference point is somewhere around this kink. So you see that the exit of the pits is doing an angle here and then goes down straight and parallel with the road. So what you really want to do here is arrive somewhere here. This is the 100 meter. This is where this kind of asphalt outside of the road ends. You want to start your braking before that. Now, as you get better and better, you might start braking a little bit later and later. Depends also. GT3 cars might be able, to brake sooner. So, at first, I would start the braking before the angle of the pit lane exit line on the road. So you can see again, this is the angle here that the pit lane exit white line creates. Start your braking somewhere here or maybe before that to be sure. And the most important thing is do not try to position your car right here. Because if you do this, then as you can see, the whole okay, so let's see this from above. It's much better like that. So you see that the road does actually, there is a slight bend that goes to the left, and you can see this. So you don't want to position your car somewhere around here as you would normally do. Okay, you don't want to do that because if you do this like this, then during the braking zone you will be forced to follow the turn, and you will be forced to steer. And if you do that, especially with the ABS and the long distances that the GT4 cars have, you will make your braking distance even longer. So what you want to do is always look as far as you can. So arrive with your car somewhere, positioned somewhere here. This is your reference point, as we said. All right? Now, position your car as straight as you can because you want to arrive right at the edge of the road by braking straight. So let's see if I can actually design this. What you want to do is try to create a line that goes over there to the limit of the road. You don't want to do this. You don't want to arrive from here and rotate like that, because this will gonna create a longer braking distance for you. Why? Because you're gonna be forced to steer, and when you're steering, obviously you don't have the same grip to all the tires, so the ABS will start creating problems, and you don't want to do this. So go as straight as possible. Okay, start braking somewhere here as full braking, 100%, and keep on looking as far as possible to the horizon. And I'm not doing nothing right now, so my car keeps going straight. Okay, so keep doing that. Your car will go straight. You will be able to brake as good as possible in the shortest amount of time. And when you see, I'm arriving right on the edge of the road at the moment before the turn in. So arrive here before the turn in and then start turning in. Now, this is one of those most very difficult turns, because if you do something strange, if you steer a little bit, then the ABS is going to engage, and when it is engaging, your braking zone will gonna get longer, as we said. And if you end up outside of the racing line here, even if there is lots of space here, the problem is that there is much less grip. This part of the road is dirty. There is lots of marbles. There is not much rubber. So also the camber of the road is different. So you don't want to end too wide, because the moment you end just a tiny bit wide, then there is no way to come back again. So you're going to end really, really wide. So go as close as possible. You can even, go a little bit over the curb here, like that. So you can practically, best drivers jump a tiny bit over here, okay? And then instantly, while you're right after the apex, which is practically this cone here, and it's very easy on this turn. I mean, it's so short that you know where to do. Go on the accelerator. Try to not go very hard on the accelerator. Try to be a little bit more gradual, because if you go gradual on the accelerator, it will help rotate the car. If you go really hard on the accelerator, probably you're gonna either spin the tires too much and go into too much oversteer, or usually the traction control here will understand that something is wrong, and it will engage and it will push you out in understeer. All right, so you don't want to do that. You want to not only go gradual to the accelerator, but also, one of the most important things here is you don't want to end up very wide. You want to already be able to do meters forward. So you want to have your car rotated so that you can do some meters forward and start gaining lap time like that, you see? Because if you are like this, you can already start to steer a little bit less and the car moves forward. Now, from here on, there are many things that you can do. There are a couple of things, that not many, just a couple of things that you can do. Some drivers prefer to, why I'm already always using that? I should, okay. So some drivers prefer to, go as wide as possible and arrive somewhere here. Some drivers, like me, prefer to do a little bit of a closer racing line. Both are very good. Probably for the GT3s, this line here is the best, because the GT3s have the power to get out and then lots of grip to go in again. Honestly, I don't know what to tell you. Usually, at least with the GT4s, but also with the GT3s, I tend to not go too much wide. I tend to do something like that, going straight. This helps me probably it's lower, okay, in the entrance, but it helps me make a little bit of less road, and that in the end, for me at least, works in the same way. So I'm not losing much time by not going extremely wide. So what I do is usually I arrive somewhere in the middle like that. Some people, again, as I said, prefer, and I think probably is better, especially with the GT3s, they prefer to go wider, not extremely wide, but wider, at least a car length wider here. Try and see what works better for you. I feel more safe when I stay somewhere in the middle of the road like that. But, I'll try again. The most important thing here is that when you arrive at the end of this part of the outside of the road, this is your practically your reference point. You can see it here. To either just touch a little bit the brakes before going left, or just release the accelerator. Depending on the car, you can do either one or the other thing. I usually touch the brakes a little bit, and I keep on, touching the brakes until I feel the car rotating towards the left of the road. Why I'm doing that? Because if you arrive like that into this part of the turn, you still have to keep turning, and waiting before applying the accelerator again. Otherwise, you're gonna end up, wide in understeer. But if I arrive into this turn with a little bit of extra rotation from the trail braking, so a little bit of, a hint of braking, like you see here, something like that. Okay, you can possibly rotate the car just enough so that you arrive into this situation with the car rotated like that. Okay, with the car rotated like that, you can go on the accelerator, you can keep the rotation, and usually I start accelerating when I see the Audi Sport here billboard. When I see it more or less at the middle of the road, this is when I will gradually again go into the accelerator. The car is rotating, so I will not go instantly on the accelerator. I want to keep that rotation, and I want to start accelerating as fast as possible. If you do it properly, then the car will end up wide, but not so much wide. You will arrive just at the edge of the road. Now, be very careful. If you arrive at the edge of the road like this, okay, you cannot make it. You will be forced to, release the accelerator, okay, and because the this fake turf, fake grass here is extremely slippery, and so if you go over that, you're gonna end up with a lots of understeer. The whole car will go outside, and you will be forced to, release the accelerator in order to not get a warning or, off the limits drive through. So, what you need to be careful and notice what to do is that you want to arrive here. Hello, Che. Welcome. You want to arrive here in a situation like that, so that, the rotation maybe and a little bit of slide. If it happens that you have to go a little bit wide, you have to go a little bit wide by sliding with all the four wheels like this. Because if you arrive like that, then you can still retain the control and keep the car in the limits. Okay. All right. So, oops, sorry about that. So let's move on again. Sorry. Now you go down, possibly in third gear, and what you want to keep an eye here is either this or that part of the road. Now, this is too late here. This is extremely too late, so you have to brake before that. I like to keep my my eyes on this part of the road, right here, this one, okay, where the grass ends practically, because in that way I also keep my eyes into the entry and apex of the next turn. So this is the place that when it arrives to my A pillar, I start braking. So I do it like this. So this comes closer and closer, and somewhere around here, depending on the situation of your car, fuel load, tires, and everything, somewhere around there, I start, my braking. This is my reference point for braking for the T3. Now, the T3 curve is, this bend is a little bit of particular. Again, try to not stay too much wide, because again, it's a very dirty part of the asphalt here. There's not enough grip. You're gonna end up wider and wider. So turn in a little bit earlier, just a tiny little bit earlier, not too much, and then try to position your inner wheels inside that curb here. So try to position your inner wheels somewhere here. This is the perfect solution, let's say. Now, obviously, once again, I remind you, don't do this on the first couple of laps, because you're gonna end pressures, because the tires are gonna flex a lot, and you're gonna lose some pressure from the tires. Um, so try to position your tires here. Don't overdo it. Don't go too much on the inside, because this is a very particular turn. You're gonna get warning for limits of the road, even if you overdo it just a tiny bit. So be very careful. Sometimes it's even better just to go over the curb here. Don't go too much on the inside. For sure, you're gonna get a warning. It's one of those places that we don't want the drivers to go inside a lot. So watch it here. Yes, Apoelos, the dirty asphalt is modeled. If you go outside the rubbered trajectory, the part outside is really, really very slippery, much more slippery than if you stay uh, on the rubbered line. Right. So what you want to do here is, whoops, lots of curbing here. What you want to do is try to stay as close as possible to the curb for the whole part of the turn and for the exit. Why? Because instantly after this turn, you need to do this kind of line. You need to stay here and then turn for the next turn, and you need to get as good exit from T4 as possible, because after the T4 you have a straight line, and to be fast on the straight line you need to get as good exit as possible. So um, be very careful here. Stay as close to the left side of the road as possible. Switch to second gear and then go in. Now again, here you have two possibilities. One is jump over the curb. The other one is just touch the curb. Both possibilities are equally good. It depends on your car. It depends on your on your setup. It depends on those situations. So try it and find out what is better. So with this car and GT4 cars generally, I will just jump over the curb. Now here's a good thing that you could do. You are arriving here in second gear like that. I will put first gear now, and usually you cannot make this turn flat out. It's impossible to make this turn flat out. So what you can do is you jump over the curb, and the moment you raise and jumping over the curb, you release the throttle for a hint, or just before that, you jump with the throttle release, the car rotates a little bit, and right after you go down again from the jump, instantly go on the accelerator as hard as you can. With the car rotated, you will be able to make the turn, and we will see that in a minute, where we're going to do some fast laps. Now obviously the usual rule apply. Go to the accelerator only and only if you are sure that you can keep the accelerator fully open for the whole exit and straight line that follows. If you find yourself in a situation like this, right, that you have so much understeer and you're going so much wide that you are forced to release your accelerator again to get the car inside again, then that means that you are doing it wrong. You probably got way too much speed during the turn, so you have to try again in a way that, okay, you jump, you release, you go on the accelerator, and you keep the accelerator for the whole turn. Now once again here, again, this turn, as we said, tries to make you slide wide. Don't go very wide here because you're going to get another warning. It's easy to go wide here because you see so much space. There's asphalt, there's no big problem. So you could go wide, but the moment you go wide, you're going to get a warning or you're going to get a drive-through. So again, stay very, very careful at the exit of this turn. You have to remain with your inside wheels on the road, and not, you don't want your inside wheels to go over the white line, because that means you already got a warning. Okay, now straight line as fast as possible, as usual. We move to the right side of the road. Now that is pretty straightforward. It's one of those very, very difficult turns of Nurburgring, but at least there is a very easy to understand reference point for the braking, and then you know do your best as usual. So, ciao Mirko, tutto a posto. So, what you want to do here now, as usual, even at your first lap ever at the circuit, you will find those cones that they are not here anymore because somebody is trying to get all the uh, width of the road and even some more. So 99% you won't find the cones here. Don't be afraid. The cones are not our reference point. This here is the reference point. So the end of this side road, this part here, all right, this is your reference point. This is where you have to stop. And it's easy to see because you can see that, the side road ends exactly perpendicular on the road. So start just before that, braking. And as you get better and better, you will start braking exactly here or just even a little bit later than that. All right, so brake here as usual. Now this is really hard. This is one of the most difficult turns of the circuit. As you can see, there is camber that goes down into the road. So you want to start braking from fourth gear. You go to down to third gear. Usually, you brake a little bit straight, and then instantly you start going into the turn, and you want to keep on trail braking with a tiny bit of braking force like this, something like that. We will see that in a minute. Um, and and you want to start going inside the turn. Now it's very important to stay inside because you can see there is a lot of camber going down the curb. So the more you stay inside the turn, the better it is. If you stay outside because you arrived way too hot, way too fast, again, this is very slippery here. You're gonna end out of the track on the grass. So it's really hard. The problem here, it's also that if you trail brake way too much, you're gonna end up over that curb and inside the grass here, and that will unbalance a lot your car. You might even end up into a spin. So you really have to be very precise with your trail braking. Rotate the car like that, and somewhere around here, you will feel that you have enough grip on the steering wheel. Your steering wheel will be really heavy, and if you are in that position, you can go really hard on the accelerator. Now, by going really hard on the accelerator, the car will start to slide and rotate. So keep on your foot on the accelerator. You really need that rotation. If you see that the car goes outside, then something went wrong. Instantly raise your foot and get the car together. But if you are somewhere around here and you are not really sure what is happening, keep your foot on the accelerator, keep on steering, and your car will rotate because you're in third gear, you still have enough power, your car will rotate. And the camber of the road here will keep you inside. Now, if you have done everything correctly, you will slide outside and you will arrive somewhere here. Now, this is again is another turn that you can make different interpretations. I've seen very fast drivers. They exit this turn and then they go as wide as possible somewhere here, and then turn in. Usually, I don't do this. Again, once more, I will go somewhere here in the middle and then turn in again. This is my racing line. Why I do that? Because I found out that in this turn and braking zone, there is lots of rubber, there is good camber again from the other side of the road. I don't feel that I'm gaining that much by going so wide to the left. I even found that sometimes if I end up way too wide here, I can even go brake straight and go like this, really, really close to the turn. And the camber and the thing that, I'm not turning my steering wheel while I'm braking still helps me to make the turn in a proper manner and fast enough. So, I mean, again, as usual, all the live streams we do here is for not for aliens. If you hear of an alien, it will tell you, no, you have to go outside like this. They are right. They are right. But in this turn, I don't think you lose too much if you stay in the middle. And even if you are forced for whatever reason, your car is a bit too much on the wide side, you don't have the time and everything, stay here, okay, like this, and brake in a straight line like that. So just brake straight. That's not a straight line. So just brake in a straight line like this, and then go in. It's better to maintain, as usual, as we always said, it's better to maintain control of your car and do the turn properly instead of trying to do the impossible, line and lose control. So, okay, so you are somewhere around here. You're trying to go to the middle. What is your braking reference point? Your braking reference point is just before the start of the curb. This is the curb here, all right? So you want to start braking just before the curb. You get better and better and better. You'll probably be able to brake just at the start of the curb. But this is mainly your braking point. As we said, I will end up by braking somewhere around here. Now, this turn, even if it seems to be just a normal wide long turn, actually it has two kinks on its trajectory. So let me show you from above. It's really, really hard to understand what is going on here. So I don't know if you guys can see. There is one kink here. There's just a tiny bit of a different curvature. Can you notice it? Just one kink here and another kink here. I don't know if you guys are able to see it, but I will try to design it. It's something like here it does like tuck. You see, it's a little bit of an angle, and then you have another angle here. Okay, you have those two angles, 1 and 2. All right. I don't know if you can see it properly here, and you can also see this while you're driving. So what I'm usually doing is I keep braking and trail braking until the first kink. Almost, this is the first kink here, and then I release completely the brake pedal, and then I will try to, by releasing the brake pedal, usually the car starts rotating a little bit more, and I will try to go gradually on the accelerator just before the second kink. This is the second kink here. So just before the second kink, I will try to go on the accelerator. And the more I've seen that, the more I manage to go to the accelerator before the second kink, the faster I get to be on the exit of the turn, and obviously the faster it gets my lap time. So it's hard to understand, but now that I believe that you know that there are two kinks like that, two angles. Now this is the first one, and then there's another one here. So now that you know it, if you keep on watching on the curb, I believe that you will start to understand better when you have to accelerate. And an indication that you're doing everything properly is that if you are arriving on the second kink here and you are full throttle and the car rotates properly and it does not go and it doesn't go, the car rotates like that and doesn't go wide like this, so it doesn't go there, okay, this is the indication that you did everything properly. Okay, so this is when you arrive at the kink, this is where you want to be. You want the car to already pointing to a rotation towards the exit. This is the indication that you can step on the accelerator, you can stay on the accelerator, and it's going to be really, really good. Um, so that's the indication for me. Now, out do you go? Obviously, you can use as much curb as you want here, no problems. So we go down. This is perfectly, I mean, nothing really to bother with. Now, here's the difficult part. Now, unfortunately, there is no real reference point. We have this, we have the start from here, but there is no real reference point for this turn, for this, because normally you want to start your braking somewhere around here, and it's difficult. You will see once we arrive here, it's a bit difficult. You could watch the rectangle, the the orange end of the guardrail here. Uh, my idea is, do this. Start your braking here at the start of this side asphalt of the road, and then slowly, learn to go a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and at some point you will understand when you're doing, worse. If you start here, for sure you're going to be extremely safe. You will arrive at the turning entry with lower speed than you should have, which means it's very, very safe. But start here and then slowly move 1 meter, 2 meters at a time, and go forward. Now, okay, once you have, now here's one very important thing. You can see how much camber the road has towards this turn. You can see that the turn here does this. You see, the asphalt does this. And also, the asphalt turns like that. So you don't really want to follow this trajectory, because it means that you will be first, to brake and then steer towards the outside. You don't want to do that. You want to take advantage of the camber of the road. So my advice here is go straight like this. This should be your braking zone. So your braking zone should be towards the turn into a very early first apex. This is a 180 degrees turn. Make two apexes. I don't know. Make two of them. uh, um, so make two of them. This is the first. It's very early. You need to brake in a straight line towards that. You will end up a little bit wider here, and then second apex somewhere around here for the exit of the turn. So here's what we're gonna do. So as you can see, we will go straight. Okay. Now somewhere around here. Now here's a good reference point that you might want to do also, although it is a little bit difficult. This is another reference point for starting your braking zone. It's a little bit late here. It's really late, so you have to do everything perfectly while you enter. So don't take this reference point for starters. Start braking before and then go towards that. So don't do this. And now you will see that we will try to brake in a straight line like that, going towards a very, very early first apex. So, braking here, this is where I should keep on watching. This is where I look with my eyes, and I keep on braking like that, and I'm going towards the turn. All right? So you go towards there. Sometimes it even pays, and this is really strange, but sometimes it even pays to just go up the curb a little bit with your inner front wheel, because that helps rotate the car. Now, once you are here, you really have to start modulating the brake force a lot, up to the point that you release completely the brakes. Because if you keep on braking, even if you think that, oh my god, I'm going to end up wide because I'm arriving way too fast, if you keep on braking, the ABS will keep on sliding the car straight. So once you are here, you have already before that, you have to really modulate and at some point release the brakes completely, and you will see that the car will rotate. Now you want to find your car somewhere around here. So as you can see, I've ended up a little bit wide, and at that point you go on the accelerator again if you have done everything properly. Now usually I start accelerating a little bit before that, and this is the second apex. So when you arrive here, you should be very close on the second apex. Now be careful. On this second apex, depending on your car, especially on cars with mid-engine, don't, I mean, except if you are feeling that you have too much understeer, don't go over that, because usually if you go over that, your front end will go up, sorry, and your inner rear wheel will be on the air, and that will start rotating the car way too much. And if you rotate the car way too much here, it means that you are exiting with some oversteer, or the traction controls tries to control the wheels and all that stuff, and this will make you much slower. It is extremely important to to get as good exit as possible from this turn. Why? Because the straight line that follows is substantial, and it is all uphill. So even 1 kilometer per hour more in exit speed here is really very important, because it is uphill. All the cars have problems accelerating. That's a pretty big uphill here. So you really have to be as good as possible in the exit. All right? Good. Stay hydrated. Actually, I forgot. I think I have one here. Yeah. Got it. Good idea. All right. So, yes, Steve, indeed. All right. So, we approach the Schumacher SS. The Schumacher SS. Really one of the most difficult. I mean, I've already said that a couple of times, but this is another really difficult turn. Actually, two turns, because it's left, right, very fast, especially with the GT3 cars. So very hard. Now, pretty much everybody tries to go up this curb. First time you do it, if you haven't already done it before, it's gonna be a little bit. I know that it bothers me when I go over that curb. It bothers me because the whole car jumps around and moves a lot right at the point that you have to be as concentrated as possible. And the first time that I did that, it took away my concentration, and I was like, oh, what is happening? So be very careful when you go up that curb to get as much wide track as possible. Stay with your eyes on your reference point, and your reference point to turn in and either brake or release the accelerator a little bit, depending on the car. Usually I just touch a little bit the brakes, is here. This is your reference point. So start braking at first from here to here, and slowly you will end up starting braking here. Now again, be very careful. You don't have to stay on the brakes a lot. You have to just tap the brakes like that, and then modulate a little bit, not too much, just enough to help you rotate the car towards inside the turn. Now you still have to be very careful with the accelerator. What I do is usually I go into the accelerator, I go into the accelerator like that. I stay on the accelerator. I keep the car, maintaining a stable speed. I don't want to lose any more speed. I just want to have some speed while going while turning in here. Um, Sometimes with some cars you can go over the curb. Sometimes with some other cars it's better to just touch the curb here. Um, but the most important here, mainly here, is to stay as close as possible until the apex of this turn, because and the apex of this turn is somewhere around here. I don't know. Make a point to the Schumacher S again, Michael Schumacher S billboard. When that billboard, when you see that billboard here, after on the right side of the middle of your dash, um, this is where you really want to nail the accelerator, because if you are somewhere around here like this, even if the car is rotated, because it can happen, so the car points correctly, but you are a tiny bit wide, like that. If you are a tiny bit wide, do not go into the accelerator. Wait, because you're gonna end up really wide. This is really slippery here, and you can see even the whole road here. It goes from this kind of camber, it goes to a negative camber for the next turn. So if you end up wide here before going inside the other turn, you're gonna slide more and more wide, and you're gonna end up into this sand trap. And that sand trap is really, really dangerous. It's not only that it will make you, slower. It is really dangerous. You will spin. Often you will spin going in, coming inside from the sand trap. So stay really, really careful. Try to stay as close to the curb as possible. If you are here, then you can floor it, and you can start sliding outside. Now, again, very important, the car will slide outside. It's not like we'll follow a perfect line like this so that you can. No, you will find your car like this sliding, okay, if you do it properly and very fast, and you will find yourself like that with the steering wheel, trying to keep the car not going wide on the sun trap. Now, this is very important. Even if your car slides, even if you're going wide, okay, just before going over this curb, because you're gonna end up over this curb, realign your steering wheel. Even if your car is sliding, realign your steering wheel and start pointing straight before going over the curb. Why is that? Because ciao Mike. If you find yourself like this with the car sliding, and you're gonna be into pretty much this situation, let me show you. Okay, so your car is sliding, and you find yourself like that. Okay, oops, sorry. Okay, so your car is sliding with all four wheels like this, and it goes this way, the whole car, but your steering wheel is pointing this way, not too much, but this way. The next thing that's going to happen when you will go outside here, which is, as you can see, there are marbles, there's dirt, it's all slippery. So the next thing that is going to happen is that by the inertia of the speed, your rear end is going to step out. And if you are not very careful of what you're doing, you're going to try to cut the slide of the rear end, and you are going way too fast. So when you're going to do like that, the car might have some pendulum effect, and you're gonna lose the balance of the car. Minimum thing that can happen, the best possible scenario is that you're gonna lose time trying to realign the car. Worst possible scenario is that you're going to do into some slapping of the car, and you're going to have problems with the realignment, and this means that you're going to end up into a spin or something like that. Now, there is also something else that can happen that is also very, very important, very risky. Now, practically, if you do this inside the Schumacher SS and you are into a race, and usually into a race you're going to have a car behind you, following pretty closely. This is an extremely fast bend, and it's also right on the limit of the balance of the car. So everybody tries to go there as fast as possible with their accelerator full open. Okay, and nobody wants to raise the accelerator in the middle of this very difficult turn, because staying on the accelerator gives you stability. So if you are losing the balance of the car, you are trying to realign and you're losing time, the car behind you is arriving full throttle, and they don't want to raise their foot from the accelerator because they know they're going to have the same issues. And usually what happens is someone will tap you from behind, and then we have an accident. So very important, while you are arriving sliding in this situation here, don't stay like that. Already realign the car. Even if you feel the car sliding, don't go to there's no need to maintain the car. Look always as far as possible. This is where you have to keep your eyes here, and realign and start going to the right. This is very important. Now, once again, don't overdo it, because if you go over this sun trap here, there is practically a step. Let me show you what I mean. Whoops, this is very fast. Go a little bit slower like that. So there's practically a step. Look at my tires. You will see that the tires, the wheel go down. Ponk, you see? Tuck. Did you see that? The rear tire. And now you are on the sun trap, and the whole part of the car, the whole right side of the car gets slowed down, and the left side keeps accelerating, and so the car rotates. And while it rotates, you go up, down. You see it here. Look at that. Look at that step. Look at here. Tonk. You see? Boom. So you get that step, and the whole car bounces, because you are obviously in very fast, 180 kilometers per hour, 190 kilometers per hour. And that means that you get an instant hit and the whole car bounces, and the rotation is already happening. So you're going to end up into a spin. Really dangerous. So don't go ever into that sun trap. If you go on the sun trap, release the throttle and try to not rotate the car. So just, go back into the road again without any throttle, because that is going to put you into a spin. From here on, everything is easy. Exit. All normal here. Obviously, the faster you are, the wider you're going to end up here. Be a little bit careful, but not a big problem. My nemesis. This turn here really is my nemesis. So we approach here in 4th or 5th gear, depending on the car. And the braking zone is pretty easy. It's before the 100 meters. Obviously, this billboard will disappear probably because someone will gonna get it straight on. But you still have the grass here and the line of the asphalt, so you can check this and start braking. I would start braking, before that, and then slowly go in and in. Now, this is one of my problematic turns. I'm not good at that turn, and not only I'm not good, but I often get my car really unstable at the turn-in of this turn. Probably because I'm not using the correct trail braking technique, and it's really frustrating for me. So I will tell you what I'm doing on this turn. If you have any better ideas, please let me know on the chat, and we can discuss it. And maybe I can learn something myself too, and I would be very glad about it. So as we said, we start braking just a tiny bit before the AstroTurf here, the green part, and I will keep braking at the first part straight like that, and then I will start going inside the turn a little bit earlier. I will not wait, to go as straight as possible, I will start going into the turn earlier. Now, why do you want to do that, Aris? Because there is some kind of camber here that goes like this, and personally, I've noticed that if I go earlier here like that, you know, the turn keeps me in, and then I will go and jump over this inner curb right here. Now, um, um, so I will try to do this. Now, it's really, really hard to modulate the braking pressure here and the trail braking that you need, especially with the GT3 cars. Often, if I have my car, balanced for every turn of the circuit, I will arrive into this turn, and exactly here, the rear end will just go out of hand, and I will have lots of oversteer in the turning, and I'll have to correct, and I will get much, much slower, or I will end up very wide, whatever I do. I mean, it's a mess for me. So this is something that I do in every circuit, that there is one turn, just one turn, that gives me big trouble. I will try to make a setup that makes me confident and safe into this turn, first of all. Why? Because my mentality is always that. I mean, uh, as I said, I'm not an alien. I'm not going for the absolute win. I'm not going for the absolute performance. My mentality is, if I feel confident, I can push the car. If I don't feel confident, then I'm gonna end up spinning somewhere, and that will ruin my race, will ruin my entertainment, will ruin everything. So on some circuits, there are some turns that they are extremely difficult for me. This is one of them. I will make so that the setup suits my driving style and makes me safe during this turn. Once I have this turn dialed in with my setup, I keep lapping and lapping and lapping, and then I will start compromising my setup to get better to the whole circuit and slowly get worse here. Why do I do that? Because if I'm confident with that turn and I can nail it, and I can I can do the line that I want, not necessarily very fast, but I can do the line that I want, lap after lap after lap, then I start to be better on, making the turn properly. So every time I will start braking at the exact reference point, I will start turning in at the exact racing line that I want to follow. I will follow the racing line inside the turn, and so on and so on. That will make me a better driver in that turn. Even if the setup sucks in the whole rest of the lap, this will permit me to get better into driving this turn. Now, once I have, I can drive this turn lap after lap without problems and without issues, then I will start to tweak the setup to make it work into the other bends. And even if that means that the car will start to become harder to drive into that turn, the practice I have made, the muscle memory that I have created, and the confidence that I have created before will help me to drive this turn better. So this is what I'm doing. Up to a point that, again, I will start to have issues, so I will go one step back again. So this is usually what I'm trying to do. So, as I said, I will try to go up into this curb in a good way. So look again the car from the outside. This is how the situation is for me. Okay. And somewhere after the initial jump into this, sorry about that, into this curb, I will go into the accelerator. Now, usually the moment I go down from this curb, I'm onto the accelerator, the car will over rotate, will start going into oversteer. I will have to, drive. I will have to work with the steering wheel in order to keep my foot down and make the turn. I will also have to be very careful to not go very wide here. You don't want to go very wide here, because once more we have the this curbstone, I don't know how it's called, which is very slippery. And of course, if you end up so much wider here, you're gonna get a warning. So you don't want to end up with your whole car here. You want to end up somewhere like this. So again, try to make a setup that is safe so that you can drive this turn. Drive this turn a lot of time, make a lot of laps. Don't start to change your setup because the car is understeer or oversteer into the rest of the circuit. Okay, keep the car and the setup proper for this turn, and just tap your nose, drive the car, whatever the situation is, for the rest of the circuit, lap after lap after lap. After you feel really confident with that turn, then start changing the setup again to suit the rest of the circuit. Now, out of this turn, the situation here is pretty easy. You go as wide as possible, okay, and just before the end of the circuit here, of the guardrail here, tire wall, or just before the end of the side asphalt here, you go into the brakes. You have again to do trail brake here. You want to rotate the car because the car will tend to go wide. Now, again, this takes practice. It's not a difficult turn in terms of you don't really risk something into this turn, but it takes practice to do just the correct trail braking in order to rotate the car, stay close here, and not go over that curb. If you go over that curb, you're going to lose a lot of time because the car will bounce and jump over this. You're gonna have issues, with the balance of the car. It's not that hard to keep control of the car here, but you're gonna lose a lot of time. You don't wanna go wide because again, it is very slippery if you go outside. And most importantly, you really want to start accelerating here as soon as possible because we have two straight lines going downhill, and the bend that connects those two straight lines is a flat out bend. So you really want to go as good exit as possible from this turn. This turn here makes or breaks the whole lap time for those very long straights that follows. So again, the exit is very important. We go downhill, long straight here, downhill. Hi, Mike. And as we said, again, this turn here is flat out. All right. Now, here's one situation here. I've seen some people, I know, again, this is basic information, but it's always important to remember. I've seen some people arriving into this turn, and because it is flat out in whatever, racing line you want to do with it, even if you're not taking advantage of the whole width of the road, I've seen people arriving a little bit, closer, steering a little bit too much. You still can make the turn, no big deal. But as you know, the more steering input you give, the more friction you generate from the tires. The more friction you generate from the tires, which is not straight friction, the more your engine will have issues to accelerate the car. Okay, so even if it is a very easy turn, it is extremely important to look ahead of you, away, and use as little steering wheel as possible. Use really as little steering input as possible. Make a really wide trajectory and racing line so that you don't have to make your steering. Oops, let me try to how to do this. Okay, right. It's not easy, guys. Okay. So you really want to take advantage of the whole width of the road and make a really wide radius here. because if you turn a little bit more, if you, for example, arrive somewhere here, okay, you go a little bit forward, and then you turn like this, and then you end up, I mean, you can still make the turn, no big deal, and you can still think, oh, it's flat out, no problems. No, because if you do it, you're gonna lose 1 2 kilometers. All right, why? Because, as I said, uh, the the extra steering input will generate friction from the front tires, and that will bog down your engine. So you don't want to do that. So little steering input, make the car, maintain its speed. Don't lose speed here, because again, as you exit this turn, you still have a long straight. So you really need even 1 kilometer per hour. It is important for you. Right. And here we are. And that's one of the most exciting chicanes in the whole championship. Really, really fast third gear, usually in pretty much every car. Now, how do I approach this turn? I try to brake as late as possible, but it is hard. So I try to brake before the 50 meters, but way, way after the 100 meters. So you can watch this. I don't know how to call it here. This thing here, probably some, I don't know, TV tower or something like that. Uh, Once you are arriving here, don't wait too much, but start braking. Obviously, brake straight line as hard as you can. Put in the third gear, and then, obviously, being a chicane, you really have to try to cut it straight as good as possible. Um, Here's one thing: you could keep on braking, and I've seen, aliens applying just a tiny bit of brake in order to help them to go in. But honestly, I don't want to rotate the car here, because if you rotate the car and you're losing stability on the rear, it's gonna be really a mess. So what I'm doing is, while I'm at the turning point here, I will practically release uh, the brakes, even if I know I'm arriving way too hot, way too fast. Release the brakes, and then, without even giving the accelerator or anything, try to turn the car here, and you want to go up here, but not get the full second curb here, because that is going to make your car jump a lot. So you want to arrive somewhere around here like that. Okay, again, look at it. You see, just, oops, let me make it a little bit slower so that we understand what we're doing. You just want to just touch, the inner curb like that, and you want to touch this curb not like this, but with as little steering input as possible. Again, for the same reason, because if you are like that, the whole car will rotate, and then you're gonna, once you go down from the jump, because you're jumping. Once you go down with the jump with the steering like that, the whole car will try to rotate. Your rear end will lose stability, and it's going to be really, really bad. To go fast into that chicane, you need as much rear end stability as possible. So you use as little steering input as possible. You jump over here, and then you try to get this one. You really want, with the inner wheels, to go over the second curb here. Okay, so go into the accelerator, try to stabilize the car. Okay, and you really want to go straight and boom, jump over here. But here's the trick: you don't have to overdo it, because doing like that is good. But if for whatever reason also your left side wheels, you cut so much that you go over this with the other wheels, this is going to end up really, really bad. It's going to end up bad, and the whole car is going to jump, and you're going to really slide to wide, and you're going to lose the car. So what you really want to have here happening is that you arriving here, you're going to jump, And you really also want just before the jump, because you will arrive like this, just before the jump, you want to have some extra steering input here. Why? Because that will make the car roll to the outside of the turn, to the left side, and the inner wheels will be very light. So being light, they are not going to get a big impact by going over this curb. So you are going to jump, but not too much. If you arrive like that, then the whole car will jump. If you arrive like this with some weight transfer to the left side, then the car will just instantly jump. If you do it properly, the car will slightly rotate here, and you will feel that you are capable of, giving it the whole accelerator, completely open throttle. Now, this is where you have to work with the steering wheel. When you are exiting here with full throttle, the car will want to go into a slide, oversteer, do some stuff. But if you work with the steering wheel, and again, I remind you, point where you want to go, oversteer, correction, and instantly realign to the point. Again, look at my older video about how to correct a slide, how to catch a slide, and this here happens a lot. So point here, oversteer, correction, instant realignment. Okay, the instant realignment, this is what is going to save you, and you're gonna need to do this a couple of times. And if you do it properly, you're gonna end up here, or even just a tiny bit over that curve. This is perfection. Right, so last turn. Unfortunately, we don't have any reference points here, which is really, really hard. And sometimes even you're gonna have the sun early in the morning right here, and it's gonna be completely impossible for you to judge where you are sitting on on the racing track. And at least you can't even see here the rubber line, so you can't see anything. But at least we have something, and here it is. This part here, there is some baldness in in the grass. This is my reference point, so you can use that and start your braking a little bit before, or right on the that flat spot, bald spot of the grass. This is your braking point. Now again, we gear downshift down to second gear. Lots of trail braking here. We try to rotate the car. Don't go over that curve, because it's gonna it will want to rotate your car even more, and you might hit the inner side of the guardrail, and you don't want to do that. So do it like that. After the start of the guardrail, a little bit, sometimes you need to wait, sometimes you can go farther, but usually after the start of the guardrail, I start going gradually over the accelerator. And if the car rotates and I have stability, and the car still rotates and doesn't go into understeer, you can go flat out as much as possible, and finally exit. And finally we have one lap on the Nurburgring GT. So this is a circuit walk on the Nurburgring. I hope you liked it. I hope you find it interesting.